Hey all, just a quick reading from that book that I just showed you today. Try to keep things mellow with no interruptions or whatnot. The differences between the various kinds of tree spirits are not so marked as, say, between varieties of dogs. I have already described elsewhere the spirit of a hickory tree, so it may be of interest to give you depictions of an oak tree, a pine, and a birch. In a small forest, I have observed a beautiful oak, a kind of tree whose spirit is about 15 feet tall, with a human outline, more Western or European in feature than those previously described. His face is more oval and regular, and he is a better looking and more human color. He is dark tan, and his hair is black. Appearance and manner. They are slender, like elongated Burns-Jones figures. Their coloring is a little darker shade than that of their bark, being a brownish gray. Their hair is brown, and they have misty gray eyes. They have sweet, gentle dispositions, and their movements are rather quick and fluttery, reminiscent of the movement of the leaves of a birch tree. I have never seen any tree spirits which are not in some degree brown in color, although the variations are many, from the red gold of the redwood trees to the gray-brown of the birch. Evidently, this is the basic color type, but there is also a relation between the color of the black and the color of the spirit in any individual tree. Bark, the color of the bark, and the color of the spirit in an individual tree. Its color probably derives from the fiber and bark. The pine spirit is a dark person with rather square features and a great deal of dark green about him. He gives one the impression of being honest and frank, and pours out a radiant feeling of harmony. He is not so tall. This particular specimen is perhaps 10 feet tall, but sturdy and powerful looking, with black hair, coarse as usual, and black eyes. He withdraws from his tree with great deliberation and gazes about in a penetrating manner. His quality is not as vigorous as that of the oak, who may be said to give a real impression of virility. It seems that the slenderness of form which characterizes all these spirits has some relation to the trunk of the tree and its life currents. For the spirit of a young tree is a tiny sliver of a thing, and its form enlarges as the tree itself grows bigger. These spirits of young trees have little intelligence and come outside of their barks only when older ones make it clear that it is the thing to do. In general, a tree's spirit form is rather rounder when he is within the tree, conforming to the tree's contour. When he comes out, he flattens a good deal, just as a human body is narrower through than across. And there I said no distractions. Okay. I also observed a young maple tree which grows nearby on the edge of the wood. He displays the American Indian character much more than the others. His general appearance is decorative, rather like pictures of a young Indian buck, whereas the hickory tree gave an impression of a staid old Indian warrior. This maple has the springing quality of youth. His color is, in general, a yellowish brown, with variations of rich red and yellow, evidently correlating with his autumn leaf colors. Instead of hair, he has a sort of autumn leaf headdress, which makes him look very gay. And he is quite evidently proud of this stylish effect. The house in which I am writing this has a few trees around it, mainly birches. The wood begins close by, and it is easy to contrast the life of the scattered trees encountered in or near a city with the conditions here, where the trees near the house are practically part of the woods. The isolated hickory, cut off from his fellows, has less of the life of his own kind, in fact, almost none. So he has to find his interest in human beings and animals, with the result that his mind grows more than his emotions do. Here, the woods give the trees a sense of kinship with their own kind, and thus they are more interested in what goes on amongst themselves than in human beings, although they feel very kindly towards people. But between the house and the edge of the wood, a number of birches have lately been felled for firewood, and the rest of the trees resent it and do not feel so friendly towards human beings. Trees dislike being cut down more than fairies resent their plants being destroyed, for a course of life of the tree spirit is closely bound up in the life of the tree. It's time to feed her dog. My daughter's doggers is here with us. In this woods, which is fairly close to civilization, yet far wilder than a city park, there is a feeling of expectancy. The life of a tree is not at all certain, and human beings do interfere. This particular forest gives one the feeling of youth. The trees all live together and feel kindly toward one another, but they take a definite interest in the human beings around, and they consider these beings as aliens, apart from themselves. Human beings tend to think of trees as firewood or shade or decorative objects, but very seldom as beautiful individuals or as anything which is at all alive. The trees feel this, and it arouses in them a close community spirit, for they realize that they are of one kind, and we are of another.